Jeff Bezos is weighing in on President Biden's infrastructure spending plan. And get this, he says he supports a corporate tax hike to pay for it. Bezos says Biden's proposed infrastructure bill will require concessions from all sides. That's his quote. This despite Democrats routinely using Amazon as an example of corporations that don't pay their fair share in corporate taxes. Here now is National Taxpayer Union EVP Brandon Arnold and Fox News contributor Kristen Soltis Anderson. Good to see you both. Brandon, what is Bezos up to?
Well, Bezos is trying to cut a deal here. For Amazon, they have been able to reduce their taxable income by taking advantage of certain components of the tax code. For instance, those that allow R&D expenses to be written off, capital expenditures to be written off. So for them, the corporate tax rate is important, but not nearly as important as preserving other components in the tax code. I think that's why you're coming out and seeing Bezos with the statement that he issued yesterday, so he can focus more on the R&D expensing, capital expensing, and items like that that are problematic in the Biden tax
So this
plan.
gives Bezos a little political capital or arguing capital in order to come back and save some of the deductions that led to, I think Amazon paid about 4.3% in taxes, corporate taxes over the past couple of years. But with those deductions in there, he might still do pretty well, Kristen.
That's right. And frankly, when you talk about things like raising the corporate tax rate, the question is what types of businesses are going to be most affected? You know, typically when you ask Americans if they support or oppose raising taxes on large corporations, slim majorities will say yes. But that is very different than what happens when that hits the smaller and medium-sized businesses that don't have the army of lawyers and accountants that someone like Jeff Bezos has at his disposal to make the tax code work for him.
The so-called pass-through companies, and many of those companies, of course, take their profits as personal income and instead of corporate income, and they're going to be hit with the higher personal rates as well. And Brandon, what about infrastructure? I mean, I'm wondering if perhaps Bezos won't make out better in all his free infrastructure, free, I put in quotation marks, from the infrastructure bill than he would by just paying. So he'll pay a little more in taxes, but he gets all these extra millions of people tuned into his products online. That might do him pretty well.
It very well may. And you've seen a lot of corporate support for an infrastructure bill. I think there's a need to address things like internet infrastructure, making sure people have access to broadband. Of course, we've already spent a considerable amount of money during the course of the pandemic to make sure people were connected while they couldn't access their offices and other locations. But sure, the infrastructure package is broadly supported by the corporate community right now. The challenge for people that care about our fiscal situation, care about the $28 trillion in debt that we've amassed, is slimming down this package and only focusing on our core needs and not going bonkers like Biden has proposed and sinking money in free college tuition for community college attendees and huge gifts for the labor unions and so forth. That's the real danger here for all companies, Amazon included, I think. All
right. I want to switch to something that J.P. Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon is saying right now. He is bullish on the economy through 2023. He says, quote, I have little doubt that with excess savings, new stimulus savings, huge deficit spending, more QE, a new potential infrastructure bill, a successful vaccine, euphoria around the end of the pandemic, and U.S. economy will likely boom. Kristen, I'm sure that it is going to boom in the short run or for the remainder of the year, but do you think it'll last through 2023?
I think it's entirely possible. I know that when we take a look at what surveys are saying, people are feeling very optimistic about the way the economy is going. There was a little bit of a shift in that view once Trump had left office, because as you'll recall, there were many Americans who, even if they didn't love Trump as president, they liked how he was handling the economy. And that dynamic was a little flipped for Biden. Some people say, well, I like him, but I don't know if I like how he's handling the economy. But of course, as we come out of this pandemic, as things roar back to life, you would expect them to go well. The question is, will the Biden administration roll back the policies that the Trump administration put in place that enabled some of this economic boom in the first place?
Brandon, a boom right through 2023. What do you think?
I'm somewhat bullish here. I think there's a good chance the economy could be in excellent shape. We put $5.3 trillion into this economy over the past year. That money's going to play out in the form of business creation and so forth once restrictions are lifted and the economy opens up. The biggest danger here, of course, like Kristen said, is retreating on some of our tax policies that have enabled economic growth. And that's what we need to watch. So I think it's a little too early for this exuberance. Let's see how this infrastructure bill plays out to see if we can keep corporate and personal income taxes low, the regulatory burden low. And if that's the case, then I will certainly agree with Mr. Diamond.
Okay. It's going to be a tough fight. Brandon and Kristen, good to see you. Thank you very much for being here. Well, more than 19,000 unaccompanied minors